and welcome back to Live, Love, and Loss. Episode number 11. Your host, Jason McIntosh, joining me with the lovely
co-host Katrina Madewell. Welcome back.
Yes, welcome. Thanks for coming back and spending your day with us. So, Katrina, how was your last week, and where did we leave off?
You know,
you did some traveling,
we
didn't you?
said, just over the weekend. I was back Monday. Okay. But we said we were going to be honest in this show, right, and transparent.
Oh, is this? I smell a setup.
No, it isn't.
I don't like where this is going, but
okay, I'm just going to be honest with the person listening. You can take it or leave it or bypass it or ignore it. I'm okay with that.
Okay, as long as it's about you and not me. Go ahead.
It's about me,
Good.
not you. Yeah. See, I'm not throwing you to the bus.
Yes.
That's later.
Yes.
Just kidding. No, this has been a rough week. Not all week, but a couple days.
I feel you for sure.
Have just been rough. Like the sadness.
Funky, yeah.
Sadness kind of rough. And I'm not a person that historically, right, in my life has been sad or depressed. That's just not in my nature.
No, you don't strike me as that.
Yeah. So when I get those days, I feel really off. It really just, ugh.
I understand. I can relate to that.
So I try to pull myself out of that with like a playlist or elevating my heart rate, going to the gym, something. Yeah. But
so this is an appropriate time for me to give you one of my personal quotes, and it goes as follows: even the strongest have moments of weakness. Thus lies the strength, leaving it at a moment. Right. Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't matter, how big and strong you are, how much on the outside you may appear to have it together. We're all human with feelings and emotions, and we do have our days and moments as well. Right. But so the real strength is to, to move on and bounce back but you're okay and entitled to have those moments.
And I think for this show, our goal was to help the person listening that is either going through it or they've been there.
Because we have.
Right. And so when we're showing up, we're trying to be our best, but it doesn't mean that every moment is like that. So It's okay to not be okay. That's the point.
I would agree wholeheartedly. We need those moments to ourselves, and there's really power in emotion, no matter which one it is.
Yeah.
God gave us all the emotions for a reason.
Yeah. Episode 11, Finding Yourself Again, Identity After Widowhood. This is going to be an interesting topic, and I can't wait to share this conversation with you, Jason. Obviously, grief changes everything, right? It changes who you are. And when you lose a spouse, it's not just your partner, your better half, your other half. This is like part of your identity that's gone. And I can feel that for sure. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about what that means and what it's like to actually explore rediscovering yourself, your new self, who you are after a huge loss like a spouse.
Right.
So it's interesting. It's in the outline we had put on here, rebuilding confidence to dreaming new dreams, just finding that voice again. And for me, confidence has never been an issue. It hasn't. As a matter of fact, we both have a trainer that we work with at the gym that keeps us accountable.
Yes.
And they'll have every quarter a questionnaire, like a survey on how they're doing. There's different things that they put in there, and I get my measurements every month. So every month they measure everything, weigh in, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the things he asked, it was interesting how other people perceive you sometimes. And, of course, with your trainer over time, you get to know them better.
Yeah,
they get to know you. But he had one of the things on there, one of the questions was confidence. Like, has working with your trainer boosted your confidence or something to that effect, bettered your confidence? And I was like, no, I never really had low confidence. I feel better for sure. I feel like I look better, but I wouldn't say like my confidence was in the toilet. But I think that might be true for a lot of people in that position, right? Like you have your spouse. Sure. I mean, my husband made me feel like I was the most beautiful woman on the planet. And so when that's missing, I can understand why that would be a factor.
I think what it is when you feel better about yourself, or even when you feel healthier, right?
Yeah.
Or when things start to fit a little better, right? Or you can size down and do some new shopping. You have a pep in the step, you feel better, and that projects into your everyday life, right?
Yeah,
So,
maybe that's it. I mean, for the first time in a long time, I've moved into single digits, so that feels really
Yeah,
great, you know. And
absolutely.
women that are aging like me, you know, in your 30s, 40s, 50s,
Yeah,
maybe older, I'm sure if you can relate to that, you understand that.
for sure. The metabolism does slow down a bit the older you get. So,
Unfortunately,
yeah, no, for sure. There's definitely for me, I know when I started to, I hired the trainer and got healthier and worked, working out 4 or 5 days a week. I think it's an outlet, number one. So it allows you to get some of that toxicity out of your life, the tension, and it carries on throughout the day for sure for me.
yeah.
You're less anxious.
I have more energy. Do you?
The energy is, definitely, especially when you start eating cleaner.
Yes.
Your energy levels are going to change, all the processed foods and what have you. And then, these trainers, you got to stop and think about it. My trainer's been doing it for 30 plus years. So, I mean, I don't have 30 years to get healthy. And I don't necessarily need to look exactly like my trainer, but it does get a little addicting. And, it becomes, I know we're going to talk about hobbies and things like that. It becomes maybe that hobby, or it becomes a lifestyle change, right?
Yeah.
So you do get addicted to it. You have the need to do it. If you miss a day, you feel
like
it.
crap.
Yeah, right. So
I feel like crap. Like one day I didn't go to the gym with my friend. She did back to back. She did a
Yeah.
HIIT class and then Pilates. It was an off day with my trainer. And I was like, I just need sleep today.
Yeah.
And I slept in and I felt like crap. Not only because I didn't go, but because my friend was there.
So, anything you can do to feel better about yourself is definitely a win, right? So there's no losses there. So, I mean, that's one of the things we're going to talk about, moving on in life. And I think you can't pour from an empty cup,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And so that will be true moving into any other new relationships, whether it's a friend, it doesn't even have to be romantic, professional, a friendship, whatever that is. You have to have that inner happiness within yourself, and you have to love yourself, right? And sometimes you have to, if you're a giver and you give, I mean, there's a lot of takers out there, so you got to be careful. You got to get selfish, if you're one that's always putting everybody first, your children, your children, I get it. They're always going to come first. They're your children. However, it's the empty cup thing, right? So you have to take that time for me time to rediscover yourself, to love yourself. And like I said, no better way to put it, you got to be selfish sometimes.
I always say if you don't love yourself, no one else can.
That's very true.
So if this is new for you, find ways to love yourself. So I think for me, likely for you, going to the gym is part of it, right? You end up
for
loving
me,
yourself.
it definitely is. It's just anything you can do, like I said, to feel better about yourself. It's going to project into those interactions.
I'm so glad that I started back with the trainer before
Yeah.
Chris passed. It was before he passed.
Yep.
And so he knew he was sick. I had mentioned it. He would get up and try to go to the gym with me, and he did often. And it was funny. My trainer, Ben, said, you would never know how sick he was by looking at him. You would never know that.
Yeah.
And not long, I was out of the gym, I think, for maybe 2 weeks after he passed. I took about 2 weeks off. And I'll tell you, for me, the sign of a good trainer, there's two things. Number one, he knew it was my goal to continue doing it. I had been on a healthier lifestyle with food and things like what we talked about, not eating processed or fast food, just trying to stay away from that crap. And after a couple of weeks, he's like, I know you're sad, but let's go.
Yeah.
It's like, let's go, get back in the gym.
Yep.
And then another time, I was just exhausted. Sometimes that insomnia kicks in. I'm up late. I get no sleep.
Yeah.
And one time I was at the gym he was at the gym. I didn't make it that time. And I texted him earlier and I'm like, hey, I'm just exhausted. I'm not going to be able to make it this morning. And he was like, well, I'm here and you're not. And he charged me for the session anyway.
Oh, wow.
And as pissed as I was, I look back on that and I'm like, man, thank you. Because I think about my last trainer I had. I feel like it was always this like excuse train. And if he gives it to me, I'm going to take it. And that's not what I'm signing up for.
It's true. They have to hold you accountable, and that's their job. And if you notice a difference when you go into the gym and you're not on your own without the trainer, don't you notice a difference in your workout as well? Because you're not even holding yourself that accountable. You're not pushing yourself as much as they would push you, because it's like, they're loading your weights and they're setting everything up, and you're not even really paying attention looking.
Yeah.
You're just going through the motions, and when you're done, you're like, holy cow, I'm lifting this, right?
Yeah.
Where you may have not have done that on your own. So it's just that push, that extra motivation. It really does make a difference.
So to your point,
Yeah.
I've been doing the leg press. I was setting it about 270 on my own.
Yeah.
And when I went with him, he's just like, flip, put it on 300.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I did my 3 sets of 10 on 300. He's like, you got it. Your legs weren't even shaking.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay. All right.
Yep.
But it's good. That's what you mean, right?
It is. Yeah. No, for sure. For sure.
All right. So let's get back to our topic. So
Let's
finding
get
yourself
into
after
it.
widowhood. So
Producer
you're a
Rob, feel
different
free
person.
to give us some nice noises and the
Chime
the
ins.
effects, and go ahead.
So surely you're a different person, right? After you lost your spouse?
You will never yet be the same, for sure.
How would you describe yourself before
Yeah.
your life changed, and how would you describe yourself now?
Yeah, that's a super
Like who you are. Someone says, who is Jason McIntosh?
Right. That's a great question. And, the interesting thing is we may have different answers because, for me, it's been 17 years now, right? And you're going on more than 7 months, 10 months.
Almost 8.
8 months.
Yeah.
So it's different because 17 years is a long time. And so by then, you would like to think that you've reinvented yourself and found yourself. I think probably the difference before that was, I don't want to say that you feel like untouchable, but you don't necessarily think in that way of the inevitable, right? Because you should not think that when you're that young. My wife was 34. And so that's not the time of your life you think about death.
Surely not. No.
And so, we had just had, our third child and was 9 months old. So, we gave up on having another child because we tried to have another child for a little bit. And then that's when it happened. So we gave up.
Yep.
So it was a miracle. It was a blessing. And you think about, we use this word on several episodes, perception. Your perception does change. So things that may upset the average person don't tend to upset us, right? So you have thicker skin. I think you don't concern yourself as much with the petty things that people get upset over. As a matter of fact, that might irritate you for those that get upset about the pettiest things when, you've lost a loved one, prematurely. And when you go through that, things tend to bother you less, I think. So you become, resilient is a word in
That's
time.
the word I was thinking.
In
for you.
time, but you become more aware. Your awareness, I would say gratitude, you savor life more, I think. So like even especially with the extension of yourself, your children, right? And now that I have grandchildren, they're the best because, after a while you can always give them back, right? So you can't do that to your 2 or 3 year olds, but, they are an extension of yourself and of your children and, the DNA. I mean, it's miraculous. So if you have children with your significant other that has left you behind, there's a part of them, you see a part of them every day, within the extension of them every day. So I think that's amazing, and it's like they will be there with you, and you'll have those moments. You'll think of your significant other, and you'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll just, what are you doing? You're haunting me, And like my youngest daughter, who's now 17, she'll be 18 in January. When she was 9 months when her mother passed. So obviously, from a mannerism standpoint, it's near impossible. She can't have any mannerisms that she has learned from her physically, yet she still inherited the traits.
Yeah.
Is that crazy?
Yeah.
So DNA and genetics, it is miraculous. There's no way that the Big Bang Theory or the evolution, I'm not going to get too whatever in the show. But I mean, there's just no way that's not a miracle.
It's
right?
not a learned behavior.
No.
It's a DNA trait.
It is. So it's just so funny watching my daughter grow up and the amazement that the little OCDs and mannerisms from my wife, her mother. So I think, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that the change is definitely awareness, definitely perception, also trying to live your very best life as best you can, but also knowing that you are human. You are going to make mistakes. You're going to do stupid things. And I think part of that is maybe you have to lose yourself a little bit to find yourself.
Yeah, it's fair. We had three together, and we can totally see that. It's like mine, his, and ours. Our son Nick has these weird mixed traits.
Yeah.
And the older one is just like him, literally, and the little one is a mini me. It's interesting how that is. I was gonna say, for you, being in your 30s, losing your spouse, having young children, resilience. I can imagine how resilient that must make someone in their 30s, having to raise 3 kids starting at 9 months
I don't
old.
know if at the moment I would call it resilient. I would call that surviving. I didn't really have a choice because it was thrust upon me. So it was survival, not resiliency, I don't think. But maybe give myself a little credit,
It's survival, but you built the resilience.
That's true.
Like, looking backwards, you would not call that resilience?
Yeah, I mean, in the moment, but I know what you mean, because they say God only gives you what you can handle. And I certainly know people who buckle under less pressure, right? And so you do find out what you're made of, and I think that, there are people that have told me you're the strongest person I've ever met, but then there's times, those times when you're alone and you it's great to hear that, but you don't always necessarily feel that, because even like what you opened the show with, yeah. I think that those people that look like they have it together the most sometimes are the ones that the biggest cry help that you may never hear, because there's a certain sense of pride, they carry it, carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. So there's definitely a sense of pride that that's, it's hard to break it down and share that, I guess.
So this is a tough one that I find myself very much in. I don't know for you how long that was, but using we when you talk about things and you say we.
Yeah, I still say my. I used to, 17 years later, you still hear me say my. But no, I know what you mean, because 30 years, right? 3 decades,
yeah.
Was that right?
Over 3 decades, over.
It will always be a we, and the next person that you share the rest of your life with has to accept that. There will always be a we. That person, Chris, will always be a part of you, no matter what. And it's different when you are a widow and widower, because we did not get divorced, right?
Right, and I think I said it before.
It wasn't
I think
a failed relationship.
It's hard to be with someone that, whether you're married or in a relationship with someone that's a widow.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's parts that are hard.
It must be because I'm still single, so I don't know if I blame it on that. But no, yeah, you have to. And the thing about it is, everybody's a little different. Some people need more space than others, and I can't imagine. No, I can't imagine. This, and we've talked about that in a few episodes, that the person that left you behind wants you to move on. They just want to make sure, they want you to be happy. It's not like they want you to necessarily put up the shrine and forever devote yourself to them till you die. I think I had mentioned before, my wife, her biggest thing was to make sure that if and when I settle down, that they would be good to the children.
Yes.
And
that's a big mom concern.
That was her thing. Just make sure they're good to my children.
I can relate to that. Like, as a mom, I feel that, and I can understand why Helena, that would be her biggest concern, because you're just like, oh my gosh, what if they're mean to the kids? What if they're the evil stepmom? What if?
God, okay, it's happening.
That's it. That's it. She never had to worry about that. So.
Yeah. What if they abuse the children? It's just a mom thought.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yep.
when you think about anybody else stepping into your shoes. So, and I'll get people all the time now, even still yesterday, Madeline turned 25.
Wow.
So we had a birthday party at her house. Some of our longtime friends came.
My oldest is 25.
Including one of my husband's best friends.
She turned 25 in May, actually.
She did? Yeah. So yesterday was Maddie's birthday.
So same as my daughter, when they're born they're born in 2000.
Yep.
So you always
Millennial
know.
babies.
Millennial baby, you always know how old they are by the year. 2050 should be 2050.
So easy.
And I have no idea how it'll be then if I'm still here. So 50,
Don't even
20,
have to think about it, right? It's
yeah,
just
30,
so easy.
Yeah, 80. Woo.
But they
Anyway.
often would say, how are you doing? And I find myself often saying, just trying to figure out what my new life looks like. And some days I'm like, I have no idea what that looks like. But I try to go day by day, try to keep myself busy, have some goals.
Yeah.
Personally, professionally. I think all of that helps, even when you don't want to. Just get up and do it.
No, yes, it does help, because then what you're doing is it's the act of planning, acknowledging, the act of, bringing it into the universe. You speak it, you bring it into the universe, that good energy, and you're taking the time to think about it, and you can't put something into action, I don't think. You have to, it's what they call it, visualization. You have to visualize it, so I think it was Ralph Waldo Emerson that said, in order to be successful, you must first see success, right? So if you can't visualize that, then that new life and what that's going to look like, because stop and think about it logically. If you're not doing that, you're not visualizing that, then you're not putting that energy into the universe. If you're doing the opposite of that, that's what you're projecting is what you can expect, right?
I think Napoleon Hill said some variation of that in Think and Grow Rich. I think that was definitely something in that really old book that was written, in the 30s, I think?
Yeah, I remember 30s.
It's old.
Was it that old?
It's really old, yeah. And there's another one that his wife released after he passed away called Outwitting the Devil.
Oh, wow.
And he had it, I guess, in a safety deposit box and never released it. It was a different time.
Yeah, Katrina, you're right. 1937, Napoleon Hill.
There you go.
Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich. What's that? Oh, in the Robert Kiyosaki. Did he do a version of that, though? Kind of similar? Anyway, you can tell.
I'll tell you.
You can tell I don't read a lot of books.
I spent time with his. You've read that one, right? Rich Dad Poor Dad.
That's the one. Rich Dad Poor Dad.
So I've read, or I had time to spend. I can't say who it is, but I had the opportunity to spend time with his rich dad.
Okay, you can't say who it is.
Super profound guy. No, I can't. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
I can't.
Fair.
I don't think I'm allowed to say.
Yes, off air.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. All right. So.
Okay.
Rebuilding the confidence and self-worth. So. Overcoming that fear, stepping out alone. It's a scary feeling. Maybe, I don't know if it was for you, Jason, as a guy, but for me as a female, thinking I'm all alone now, in this life. And with my kids being older, having adults and teenagers, they test you more than smaller kids might, or certainly a 9-month-old. And I feel like so many times it was us against them, not to try to sound like that with the kids, but we always had each other's back. Like if I said something, he would stand behind me and vice versa. Yeah. Even if we didn't agree with it, we would talk about it in private, but we would always have each other's back. Yeah.
Well, that's in that same regard, like the live, love, loss, you're talking about a relationship where if you think about a lot of people, there are a lot of single parents out in the world today and a very large number, unfortunately. So, having a functioning relationship with, for better and worse, and having that, raising children together, it is a partnership, it is a unit, it is unity. So, when you don't have that, I mean, you do feel that missing piece, right? Because it's even, what am I trying to say here? Even when you're having a bad day, just you can call and reach somebody and they can make your day feel better. It's knowing that someone will be there if you do call. It's knowing that you're going to come home to someone. It's just, you don't really stop and think about that. So probably the best way I can put that is you don't know what you have until it's gone, type thing. So
for sure.
And
you feel it more when your spouse.
Oh my God! I mean, I was smacked between the middle of the eyes with that saying, because especially when you have children and especially when you have a household, because the laundry doesn't do itself, the dinners don't cook themselves, the bills don't get paid on themselves, the home doesn't stay clean, right? So you just take all that for granted because it's done. You just expect that. My wife, we always had a very tidy household, right? And everything was always nice and clean. The laundry was always there. You didn't have to smell your underwear before you put it on, right? So
you probably didn't realize how hard she worked at that until she was gone.
Not, absolutely.
Then you
yeah, even things like childcare, right? It's expensive, number one, and it's a lot of work. You know,
a lot of work.
And they always want something. The children always want something, no matter what their age is. Their hand is out, and they want something. So
these last 3 bullet points are pretty big. So when you lose a spouse, you go through where you really have to identify what are your new hobbies, new circles, new purpose. Those are tough.
Well, the new part as well, because you may have to. There's some things that maybe because of the relationship and because of you always wanted to do something, but that you never did because you didn't have the opportunity. So now you can, right? So you have to find new things, new experiences, it is a new chapter. And so some of those things that maybe you never were able to do before, maybe even felt a little held back. I mean, maybe you even had a little resentment there or whatever the reason is. But, now you have that opportunity to explore and do those things, and you can't feel guilty about it. That should be a sense of, excitement. But again, I keep saying it. It is okay for you. You don't have to feel bad. You don't have to feel guilty. They want you to be okay. Right. So you always have to remember that. I think that's the biggest takeaway and advice I can give someone is they want you to be okay. They want you to be whole. You're going to feel a little broken. You might have to put yourself back together, but what they don't want for you is to not move on and to not be healthy and to not live. They don't want that for you.
I love that you said there's something you always wanted to do but didn't do or couldn't do. It's a good time to explore that.
Yes.
For me, there's not really a lot of that. The only thing I can think of
is you guys did everything together.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is dancing, because my husband would joke around and say I'm a musician, not a dancer.
And you've been doing it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, not as much as I want to, but yeah.
Well,
so that would be an example of what I do. When I think about the circles, though, this one's interesting, and I'm at a funky age where I'm young enough that people even older than me. I think about last night. I went by a friend's house. We shared a bottle of wine. It was right down the street from my house that I was showing to rent, and some of her other friends came over and they played this game Sequence and partnered up. Well, her husband Alon didn't really want to play it.
Yeah.
So I ended up playing with her, but the people even latter my age by 10 or 15 years all still have their partner. So you really kind of feel like that odd man out. It just feels weird whenever it feels like the whole life is partnered up. Yeah. I never noticed it. And I'm sure in your 30s, you probably notice that a lot too, especially having kids, right? I notice the old people still together. I notice them now more than ever. I see these older couples that are maybe 70, 80, 90, walking real slow in the grocery store together. And
that was supposed to be you, right?
Yeah. So I notice it way more than ever. For you, it might have been different in your 30s with young kids.
The craziest things I have memories of, especially in the very beginning when I'd be out with the kids and, I had the newborn, or even when they were a little bit older, they would say, "Oh, that's so sweet. Daddy's giving mommy the day off," right? And it just always
I wish.
It just always stung a little bit, and I couldn't ruin their day by telling them the truth, right? I would just, yep, and just.
Did you feel any of that when your kids were like in sports or any activities? I mean, I think about the times we were at the baseball field. My husband coached baseball, and we were
mothers are always the
family.
biggest cheerleader. And I think, too, the reality of the situation, mothers are always, I think, the glue in any family most of the time. And they also are the ones that make stuff happen, because if you leave it to I don't know, the husband or the father, we may not be as adventurous. We may not be as, motivated to do all of the things that a mother wants to do, right? So I think they were probably guilty enough. There's probably a lot of activities that my daughters didn't do, and maybe that's my fault. However, I did try with each one of them. They weren't really the biggest into sports. They would like to go to the games, but my daughter, my youngest, did play basketball. She tried that, and I did do the, she did the modeling lessons and acting lessons, and she did that, and she was, so cute, and they were cute at one age before they became teenagers, right?
Yeah.
But so I did my very best on trying to do those things, and even down to the hair. I look back and laugh now too. I was horrible with the ponytails and this and trying to I could only imagine what people thought.
Your
right?
older daughter is probably like, get out of the way, Dad. Let me fix it.
Eventually she did. She was 8 when her mother passed, but
that's terrible, Dad. Let me take over.
That's it. So I did the very best I could. But I know there was always something missing. So I think it's rounding everything out, because, maybe on the flip side of that, like in your case, you're children older, but they lose a father. The father's there for different reasons, right? They're going to give different support than the mother did, right? And especially daddy's little girl. That's a relationship that's way different than a mother. And so it's just, you do the best you can to take on both roles, the very best you can, right? And that's what I had to do.
I think about your, one of the things in our outline is you're finding that new purpose.
Yeah.
And for you having littles, that was your purpose. You had to be their sole caregiver, their provider. Yep. You just had to go. And as many times as I've said, I'm so thankful that I wasn't in that position, that my kids are older. I feel a lot of gratitude around them not losing their dad when they were young, like your situation. But the purpose thing, I kind of struggle with that one a little bit, because I look, especially if you've been someone that's successful like me and your kids are grown.
Yeah.
Even though I've got 2 at home.
You
look at that and you're like, ooh, what is my purpose? Have I lived it? Do I have more? Where am I going from here?
Yeah. Purpose is such a
emotional damage.
Yeah, there you go. Purpose is a very powerful word when you stop and think about it, because it's interesting you brought that word up, because I remember saying that so much to my children, especially when they would act out or they would do something wrong or they'd get in trouble. I would always tell them, you have to live your life every day to give your mother's life purpose. And, that might be a lot to put on someone, but it was perspective, another big P word, right? Perspective is, if you're not living your very best life, then your mother's sacrifice is almost in vain, right? So you really have to stop and think about that. And I think it's a good lesson to learn, even if you haven't lost anyone, right? So you just have to live every day with purpose and live the best life you can, and be kind to others, because you never know what they are going through for sure. And we never know when our last day is, so we just have to be very aware, very careful. And I think you should almost live life as if it's your last day. There is Og Mandino. He has this book, 17 Principles to Live By, and rule number 10 is pretty powerful. It's beginning today, treat everyone you meet, friend or foe, loved one or stranger, as if they are going to be, and then there's the 3 powerful words, dead at midnight. Right, so you extend to the.
I'm impressed how you just memorized, you just snap that out. Number 10.
I was a national sales trainer, and that's one of the things that I've said that hundreds of thousands of times. So you extend each one, no matter how trivial the interaction, all the care, kindness, and love that you can muster, and do it without the expect of any reward in return. And so when you really stop and think about that, it takes on the words, kill them with kindness, to a different level. It takes on the word, do unto others as they do unto you. These are the last words that you are going to say to this person ever, right? So when you leave work in the morning, or you leave, your significant other, hey, have a good day, and I love you, or that's it. Sometimes you don't even get that, have a good day. Okay. That's it. But think about how different that interaction would be if they were your last words. Right. And so I think about that a lot because, when you do have to, when it was time for me to say goodbye to my wife, and they said to go in there and, say goodbye. I mean, that's when you stop and think about that, I mean, it's horrendous. You should never have to think about that. When I stop and think about, telling their children to go in and say goodbye to their mother for the very last time, that'll haunt me for the rest of my life. However, she was so strong and so young and healthy that when they did go in there to say goodbye to their mother for the last time, which they thought those would be the last words, she went on to live another, I think it was 7 to 10 days, and actually came home on hospice. And she passed away in the middle of the night on her own terms before the children were up. So I think she sensed it. I think she felt it. And she didn't want her children to have to say goodbye, right? And so they never really did. And I think that's very cool when you stop and think about it, that even her awareness in death. And similar, her mother, who passed away last 4th of July, so many years later, when she went to the hospital here locally, my daughters were both there, and they both went home while she was sleeping. And then my oldest daughter, who lives just a mile or so down from the hospital, because she went home like 2 or 3, and something just caused her to get up and to shower and then to go right back in. So it might have been super early in the morning, like maybe 6 something in the morning or 7 in the morning, whatever it was. She had only been gone a few hours, and she went in there, sat down, and her grandmother, my wife's mother, my mother-in-law, took her very last breath once she knew she was in the room. Right.
It's so interesting how you hear those stories time and time again, especially hospice people share that a lot.
Yeah. So,
I told my husband, I think he held on for my birthday and past my birthday, even on hospice.
Yep. So those are so purpose. That's a very strong word. You got to find your purpose, and you have to live accordingly. And you may not know what that purpose is. And maybe your purpose, this show that we're doing, and we kind of put this thing together because this is bringing purpose, so the experiences that we went through, if we can help others out who are going through it currently at this moment, or who will go through it at some point in time, it's inevitable. Some way, somehow, you will go through this, right? So you don't escape death and taxes, right? So one of the two is going to happen. So purpose is a very big, powerful word, right, that you have to be aware of.
The next thing that's really a tough one for me right now at this stage of my life is traveling solo or with others. And my husband and I were big cruisers. We would cruise at least 4 times a year. And
I'm sure you look forward to that. Especially
every year for my birthday.
That's a good relationship, is when you can travel together and not fight, not argue.
Actually, we would fight less when we traveled together.
Yeah, because traveling in and of itself, the travel part, is the stressful part.
It can be, yeah.
Men have the tendency to be prompt and punctual, right? So women don't, right? But there's some women plan well, some others doesn't.
That was flipped for me and my husband. But
was it really?
Yeah, we talked about that.
That's funny.
He would drive me crazy. It would take so long. I'd be like, let's go.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the only
you
things
strike me as being a planner, right? So you have everything planned out. Were you a last minute packer?
I can pack like a boss last minute. I can pack in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
For a 1 week trip, easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think about the solo travel and what that looks like now. For the last 10 years, we have always taken a cruise on my birthday. And I told you I had one planned last year. A whole bunch of my friends were supposed to go as my 50th birthday.
Yeah.
We obviously ended up canceling, not going. My friend rescheduled my 50th for next month. Yeah. That's when some of the travel kicks off. But I think about, cruises are double occupancy. So if you go alone, now you are paying for 2, right? Yeah. So what do you do? And I posted in one of the groups online for solo cruisers. Yeah. I made a comment about, hey, this is new for me. I'm a widow, which I don't often say online. It's not in my profile or anything. And I mentioned, is there a certain, I said, the thought behind the post was, let's kind of occupy the whole ship to where we're almost all singles and have fun.
Yeah.
So I don't feel that burden of like everything we would do together on the ship.
Yeah.
You know, we would have dinner together. We'd go to the comedy shows together. The only thing we didn't do together was go to the casino because he was my bad luck charm. So I told him you have to go. And he was terrible at gambling.
Yeah. Yeah. The cruise is a different thing because, I mean, that's certainly an activity type thing. So an experience that you almost have to have someone else there to really enjoy it to its fullest. I mean, I can see taking just other like road trips, spontaneous road trips, or hopping on a plane and going somewhere. And
a ship is different.
It's so much different. Yeah.
I see these posts all the time online.
I couldn't do it. Yeah.
About these guys that say, "Oh, I've got this trip all paid for." Just and these girls like chime in like, "I'll go."
Well, I will tell you,
it's a week-long cruise, and you're committing to going on a ship with this guy you don't know.
But time out. I'm going to tell you right now, one of the best ways to really get to know someone, and follow me here, this makes sense, right, is you get that sneak peek of what it's going to be like with this person, right? So I can tell you.
What if it's day one and you don't like them?
Well, what's better than day 199 or 1,099? It's better to get that out of the way first. I'm telling
you. You're stuck on a ship for a week.
I'm not, maybe not a cruise ship.
That's what I was talking about.
But that might be a little, but you'll get to know really fast. But
you might be sleeping on the Lido deck in a lawn chair.
In my years of dating, I did learn a trick where.
What's this website that I can find these single men that want to take guys out on cruise ships?
Yeah. Sugardaddy.com. I don't. So my profile is, no kidding.
Be asking for royalties.
So, no. Listen. So do a little like a weekend getaway. Even a road trip is a good one.
Yeah.
But a weekend getaway. Here's why I like the weekend getaway. I don't care where you're going. You go to Vegas, wherever. So because it's the whole, the packing, the airport, the travel part. You're really going to see what someone's made out of under pressure. Especially for the ladies out there, right? This is good for you because of the man. You're going to see because inevitably you are going to be the one that doesn't travel well. You are even down to the last minute as they are picking you up at your house. You're still packing and walking out the door, and you're going to be late. And you barely make it on time. You're rushing. Yes, I'm speaking from experience. And then you're going to really find out how well that person performs under pressure, or how they're going to react. You're going to see a different side of them that you didn't see before. Or are they going to remain calm and cool and Teflon, right? That's the man that you may want to spend the rest of your life with.
You remind me of a story I have to share.
Yeah.
This was pre-husband. It's before I met my husband.
We got the John Bourne stuff
so
going on here.
My dad
or David Bourne, John Bourne.
He had this next door neighbor.
Jason Bourne.
He was really cool.
How did I forget that? Sorry, go ahead. Jason Bourne.
I know, right? He had two sons, and always hung out with them every time they were there. One of them lived in California. The other one lived in Portland, I think, or somewhere way up in the northwest part of the country. And so as a running joke, because I was always super spontaneous when I was young, and they kept saying, "Oh, I'm moving to Florida. I'm like, well, let me know when you do. I'll be down for a road trip. I'll drive back with you."
Yeah.
So I fly to Washington State with the dad.
Yep.
Super cool guy, great flight, long time ago, right? And I drive back with the one guy, which I liked, was super attracted to, always got along, had fun. So we drove straight down the coast, stopped in California, stayed with his mom like a day or two, and then drove all the way across the bottom part of the United States. Mm-hmm. And by the time we were it's pretty starting in California, but by the time we got to Texas, the honeymoon stage had worn off. Yeah. And I was like, I am so done with this. I don't think we ever talked again after the trip.
Well, see, then that's
it. To your point.
To my point.
That's why I brought up the story.
Because there's the other things too. Like the thing about traveling and going to new places and new experiences, it's excitement. So like you go from bar to bar, restaurant to restaurant, from this excursion to that excursion. And so how they even interact well with people, right? That in of itself is important to kind of see them in action, because that's what you're going to get, right? That's what you're going to get. It's a little sneak peek. So, if you're with someone who can
interact well with nobody. They never meet a stranger, and you know, they're just fun. You know, and you can be spontaneous, and you can experience things, and they're just not like a dud, right? You know.
And that some people like that, some people don't.
Adventurous. You know,
Right.
some people don't, but that's the point.
That's what you need to.
Yeah, you're finding that balance, but you're finding that you know, I think it's important to do that rather than later on, right?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, there's no better way to get to know somebody than
Yeah.
a weekend road trip's
I mean,
pretty
you
good.
can get separate rooms, separate beds, or not, but you know, just that's a good way to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess to kind of close out this hour, we could talk about creating that next chapter vision. So journaling, vision boards,
Yep.
personal missions, just thinking about what your life can look like in the future and giving yourself that permission to live. Journaling for me is huge. We talked about that. I don't know how are you doing with your daily gratitude journal,
Not so well.
Jason?
The
Not
truth,
so
not so
well.
well.
Okay. Well, the journaling is huge. It's for me. I love it.
I need a good partner to help me journal. I haven't made my journal purchase
I
yet.
have a big surprise for you. I'm not going to tell you yet.
Okay.
I've been working on it.
Blind date? What?
No.
Okay,
It's a. You'll love it when
Okay.
I finally give it to you. You're going to be like, oh
Okay.
my gosh. I think it will help you.
Good. I need all the help I can get.
So
Or I'm beyond help. One of the two I haven't figured out, but go ahead.
that next chapter vision, how'd you get through it? What'd you do? You don't write. You said you don't read a lot.
Yeah.
So what did you do? How did you
Create
that vision?
Once again, it's so much different for me because the survival type thing, 9 months old, 8 years old, 13 years old, that's way different. I had so much occupying my time
Oh yeah.
that I really didn't.
You didn't get any me time to think.
No,
None.
not a second. So
I would not. I don't envy you at all.
here I am 17 years later, and maybe just maybe that is almost why I feel like I'm starting my life right now, because my youngest, she'll be a senior this upcoming year.
She's going to be 18 soon, right?
18 in January, so 6 months away. So I really don't feel like I haven't started my life yet, right? That's crazy. So it way different for me. I guess my child rearing days, have almost come to an end. But it's so ironic that we talk about that, because another thing too that we did kind of mention before, and I really kind of start to really, as I'm maneuvering through the dating, not so well.
Cesspool.
Yeah. Because it just depends on if you're dating women your own age or you're dating women that aren't your age, and because they may want to have children, and some of them, even if they are in their 40s, I'm in my 50s, I mean, maybe they want one more child, and I talk
Or
about
maybe
that.
they never had any.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about that before. That I got to be very, 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 very open to that, because I could go into this thing with my mind made up. I'm empty nester. Now I want to start my life, and then there's a part of me that's like, okay, because I have grandchildren and they're amazing, but then I don't have to take them home with me, right? Not that I wouldn't if I had to, but I love them not any more or less. I mean, but I have that freedom, and where I'm going with this is if I settle down again in a relationship, those are the things that I have to consider, because maybe they will want to have more children. And we talked about before, I mean, I did lose a son, and that was very devastating.
Jason, you're what?
51.
51? De Niro just had his, was it this year, last year?
Yeah, good
73.
Yeah, I think Al Pacino had one very, very late too. So
I won't say you guys can have kids older, but you can definitely contribute to having kids at a later life.
well, it all
where it's not a possibility
the
for
plumbing
women.
all still works. So
Yeah.
but
But women, like, we have a much higher chance of birth defects and stuff the older you get having
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to think about. So even if you went down this journey, you got
But
to
not
be
if she's
careful
in her-
for what
not
you're
if she's in
signing
her
up for.
20s.
Well, you said 40s
no,
a minute ago.
I'm just saying, as I'm encountering, opportunities, that's something I have to stop and think about. But again, I did talk about this. I lost a son, and there's something about carrying on the namesake that, that weighs on me somewhat. But if it's not in the card, it's not in the card. I don't know. I'm not even. It's day by day.
It's interesting too how men and women think, because for me that wouldn't even be a thought on my radar, right? But for a guy, it is, and it can be.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I think about that, and I am looking at some of these profiles, and if they have littles, I'm just like,
Yep.
swiping whatever way they're left or whatever.
To each his own. And I think too that that's why those type of applications are dangerous, because it takes the humanity out of it, right?
Right.
Because you may fall in love with someone who has children and littles and stuff, and who knows, no, I didn't bump shopping carts yet. But
I was thinking about that. Like, you probably have to
happen.
go to the grocery store to grocery cart bump, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right.
it's an interesting journey for sure. And you're right. I mean, I think about when I met my husband when I was 20. He had an 8-month-old. I never thought that I would enter a relationship with someone that had a family already, at 21 years old. But
And aren't you glad you did?
I'm glad I did. I
Yep.
love him.
Yep.
He is my kid just as much as any of them are.
Yep.
So I told him, we were talking about this not that long ago after his dad passed, and he, because he just had a baby, our first grandbabe in December, and he was talking about it, and he said, "Hey, Mom, what was that like for you to date Dad? When I was young, I was 8 months old." And I said, "Well, to be honest with you, I was pretty wild when I was younger. I didn't want a boyfriend. I definitely didn't want a ready-made family."
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, your dad was the sweetest guy I ever met. And that's how I fell in love with him. And I said, "You basically stole my heart." So there was no way I could walk away because I just fell in love with you.
Well, and children before your own children, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, that is a unique situation. Well, my situation is similar. Dennis was 1-year-old, right? So very, 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 very similar.
I think about who he is too as a person. He's in law enforcement.
Yep.
He's on SWAT, so they move quick, think quick, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think about when we were young and we were camping, my niece dropped my youngest daughter in the water off of the dock when we were all camping. The kids were roaming around together, and Tyler just jumped in and grabbed her. Like, I could have been missing my youngest child, but the superhero in him just jumped in and saved the day, even at a young age.
He was destined to
So think
save
about that.
others.
If I never had him, I might not have my younger daughter, right? If he wasn't there. So
Absolutely.
I thank God for everything and the way stuff lines up, even though it doesn't always go the way you plan or it's not the way you think.
Yeah.
I think there's a blessing in everything.
Well,
You just have to
that's
look for it.
Why they call it God's plan, right? So
Yep.
Yep.
Well, if you're still here, that means your story's not over either.
That's true. Well,
So
I
take
think
the
this
time, find the new you.
absolutely. It's starting now, right?
Yep.
And whatever your outlet is, and like the journaling thing, I'll try that out. But I think that's part of your visualizing it. Writing it down, putting it into action, and there's something about writing something down that I think it does put it into your memory subconsciously, subliminally. So maybe that's that reinforcement that you need. To
What you
kinda
think about,
get
you
into your
talk about. What you talk
subconscious.
about, you bring about.
That's it.
But when you write, it fires a synopsis in your brain, and there you go. That's
Well,
it.
that's always how I'd learn too. I'd commit it to my to memory by writing it down and then saying it back over and over again. I would write it down multitude times, and that's how I'd commit it to memory.
Well, there's neurons in your brain that literally fire when you write it down. It's about writing it and seeing it. It sticks.
So this is probably an
Yeah.
appropriate place to
Yeah,
put a pin in it.
find
and,
that new you, because that person's worth discovering. They're worth exploring.
Absolutely.
And in the next show, we're going to be talking about how to reignite that passion and deepen that connection. So if you're listening to this show, maybe you listened for someone else that's lost someone, you're trying to figure out how to be a good friend, but maybe you've got the stale marriage or relationship that needs a little spark. Next week's show is for you.
And if you're watching the show, next week we will not be wearing this very same clothes. We just will not have a wardrobe change. So we're actually going to go ahead and do
Yeah, we're going to do 2 right now. But that's next week's show when it gets launched.
Little industry secret behind the scenes.
But thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. We're so glad you're here. We hope you're
Yes.
getting some value from the show. And there's some little nugget that you take away from each show. And if you like it, don't forget to share it and subscribe it and let us know what you think.
And I'm Jason McIntosh, Live, Love, Loss.
And I'm Katrina Madewell. And this week we're out.